Woven intricately into our past are our stories. Not only are the stories important, but the people who enjoy saving those stories and telling them to another generation. And that's what makes our interview today so special. And today I am standing in the sanctuary of the Mechanicsburg Second Baptist Church. And we are here today to tell its story, a special celebration, and interview Mr. Stan Oliver of the Champaign County Preservation Alliance. And there's a couple of questions I need to ask you first, Stan, before we talk about the church. But tell me about the Champaign County Preservation Alliance and what it does.
The Preservation Alliance, or known as the CCPA, was founded in January of 1991. So we, since then, have had several activities, including an annual historic home and garden tour, and we've had historic train trips, and we've had monthly meetings in the past where we've had preservation and historic seminars and experts come out. It's 100% volunteer, from our board members to membership. We've had all volunteer work, and definitely had a large group of people that have came forward to help us in all our events and projects.
A real labor of love. So tell me about the project in this church here, the Second Baptist Church.
Well, the Preservation Alliance has always been interested in this building. It's sort of been on an endangered list, and progress sometimes wins over history. In this project, we've always been concerned. So with that concern, the membership of the Second Baptist Church, who has always been small, has, in 2002, they, for $1, sold the building to the Preservation Alliance in hopes of saving and preserving what it is.
But wait a minute, now how old is this building? Let's talk about that maybe.
Well, it's just turned 150 years old. It was built in 1858, and it was first a Methodist congregation that built it. And then later, in the 1890s, it was sold to the local Second Baptist congregation.
So it stood the test of time, but it's made a lot of transitions, and it needed to be preserved, and your group had the passion for it. But what is one unique story about this church? And I think there's one that's singularly different.
Since 1820, there's been a church here. There was a all-black school held here. The church bell and the school bell were switched, and that was due to a fire that happened in 1936, in which a next-door shop had burned the steeple off of the church, and the church bell was much bigger than the school bell, and the community decided to switch them. And this community, Mechanicsburg, is very strong in the Underground Railroad history. The Addison White story, which Mechanicsburg had purchased a slave his freedom, just had happened in 1857. So in 1858, there was a lot of activity right here in Mechanicsburg.
But we really had a neat birthday celebration here recently, November 20th. And why don't you tell us about the planning in it and why it was so important to bring the people together to see this fine church?
Yes, we wanted to celebrate the 150th all year round. Unfortunately, due to some recent work that we had done and some contractors that were in the building, we could not do something maybe every month. So we had a celebration in November of the 150th. So we had many people from the community, people from the Methodist congregation, from the Second Baptist congregation, and just local folks that came out to be part of this celebration. And we had planned that for a good while, and we had a big variety of music and history, and had a really nice crowd that night. We hope that that's the kickoff, not just the celebration's over. We want to continue celebrating, and we want to use the building, and possibly our organization would then host some opera house type setting events here with entertainment for the family to come out on a Saturday night and have a good time. And
well, folks, 150 years old and still growing strong, and we hope for another 150 years. And I always say at the end of these interviews that in a recipe, caring and sharing is important. But today you've heard the recipe about caring when it comes to history and sharing when it comes to a local group of volunteers who put their passion into this project.